Hey, I want to welcome you back to another Alexander Belize tutorial. I'm your host, AB, and I'm not going to waste a lot of time. You know what we came here to do. We're still dealing with After Effects. We're still dealing with the basics, knowing our way around the layout and the panels. And so let's just get right into it. We are going to create a new composition. I want to go over, or I want to emphasize PTS, position, transparency, or opacity and scale. So you can do this two ways. You can come up here to new composition, Command N, or you can just do that. I'm going to set this for, let's set it for 20 seconds, 30 frames per second, HD, boom. And let's make a new solid. Let's bring this over here. Let's make this background. Let's keep it white. Let's go white, background. And let's add new text. And I'm right clicking. When I right click, you can come here and do it also under layer. You can go under layer, text, solid, light, etc., etc. But you can also do it right here. If you right click, new text. Let's go back to test. And let's make that up to fit. Let's bring that to more like, let's say 225. That's good where you can kind of see it pretty well. Let's go 300. Let's live on the edge. I'm going to lock this, and I want to go over this as well. When you have a waveform in, this is where your sound, this will highlight for your, let me bring in a wave format. I'm gonna bring in some music, a song of some sort. Let's deal with chill trap, come in. So when I bring that down here, you can see how this is highlighted. Hit space bar to start it. That's what happens when you mute it. So I just wanted to kind of show you that right quick. Let me keep that on. Let's lock that off mute. Let's get rid of that completely, actually. For the moment, we'll keep it up there in the project file. You have your test layer or your text layer, and you have your background. This icon here is the hidden layers icon. This icon, I don't even worry about the quality and sampling. We'll go over that later. The effects, that'll be a whole nother thing, as well as the frame blending. Frame blending and effects, they work the same way in Premiere Pro, essentially. This is your motion blur. When you have things going from left to right, and you don't want it to look too stagnant, you want it to have more of a flow, you will use the motion blur. And I think we'll get to an example there. That's your adjustment layer. It's the same in any Adobe. And that's your 3D layer, which we will get to later on. First, let's kind of center this a little bit. I like to use the rulers. Let me see. Where are my rulers at? View, show, rulers, bam. Okay. And I did it that way to show you where, to show you how you can to show you how you can go either way. You can come up here. I'll be using a lot of this just to kind of show you, or you can use the shortcuts as well. So let's center this a little bit. Right there looks decent, right? So this is your timeline. Just like we said before, these are your seconds on the timeline. This is your work area. If you wanted to, say you ended up doing a composition and all you needed to use was 10 seconds, so you had 20 seconds left over, you can right click here, right in this little area, and you can say trim comp to work area. When you do that, boom, it's 12. Watch again. So this is where we have our work area. This is our scale. Brings it in, zooms it out, right? There will be times where you'll need to come in and really get technical. Here's a quick example of that. Let's bring back the wave and we hit this little situation here. Say you want to get in and kind of get nitty and gritty with it. You can zoom in if you needed to. So that's where it comes into play. Obviously, this does the same thing, right? The difference is this does it, this top thing, the, what is it? I forget the name of this. Yeah, the time navigator end. I don't know where my brain is. This goes according to where you have it at, meaning like if I have it right there, 15 frames, if I move it, it'll just give me 15 frames throughout the area, right? Which is about 3 seconds. It'll give me, according to what is on the timeline, it'll just focus on that. This will allow you to focus just on it. When you see that little line here, that is this. If I move it to the right, you see it move. If I move it to the left, you will see this move. But say you just want to focus on just a certain part of the timeline, that this is the item, the tool that you will use. So like I said, it's 10 seconds. You only want 10 seconds. You'll move this over a little bit right there to 9. Bring that in to 10, because last time it did it because I had this set at 12. Bring that over to 10. You right click here, trim comp to work area, and now it's 10 seconds. Just Command Z that real quick. Bring that back out. Bring that out as well. Let's bring that back. Let's get rid of that for the time being because it's always in our project bin. Okay, now coming down here, dealing with the composition, and keep in mind, you can open several different type of compositions. I can come in here, I can go new composition. I can call this test 2, and I can go back and forth. You can have as many as this will possibly hold, right? According to your RAM and your video card, obviously, whatever it can hold. I have 32 gigs of RAM at this current time, so right now, this moves pretty good. So we talked about motion blur, and I'll show you an example of that. 3D. As soon as you hit the 3D layer, that little box right there, you see you have the Y, you have your X, and you also have your Z layer. Y, X, and I'm just clicking on a little arrow, and then as soon as I see the Z, you can see what it does, right? So it brings it forward. The Z axis brings it in and out. Let's Command Z that right quick. All right. That is what that actually does. And to really even see that even better from just going into a quick little deep dive, if you go to the 2-layer view, then you can see better here. Here's a better view of this. That's all this is. This is the top camera angle of the word text. This is your active camera. And you can see here, when you see the blue corners, that indicates the active camera, which means you can operate here. When you go back to active, now this is the main one here, okay? So when I move things in 3D, I like to use the 2-view area. Now they have 2-view, 4-view, I mean, you name it. It can go any type of way. I like to use 2 views horizontal. Specifically, that's how I was taught in graphic design. So that's your Z angle, your Z axis. And you can see what it does there. And say you have it like this. Say you move it to the Z axis and it's off screen, no problem. You just go back out by 50%. Let's go a little bit further. Let's load out that 33%, boom. And then you can kind of see. And sometimes you will need to do that based on the 3D camera effect that we will do in another tutorial, not this one. Okay, so also I want to bring to your attention the parent and link. Now, just for the sake, I just wanted to just make sure that we put another text layer down here. Let's go to the true meaning of parent and link. Now, if we do the link, we're saying that the text layer, test 2, is linked to the first text layer, right? That's what we're saying. This is linked to this. So then when we move test 2 moves. Now let's vice versa. Say we go none here and we go test 2. When we move test 2, test goes with it. Now let's say you have this. Now there's another way to do this instead of just test 2, test 1 and all of that. Like I said, the beauty of After Effects is that there are a lot of different ways to do several different things. And so one of them is the whip tool. You can bring this whip tool right there. How you see how that box highlights just a little bit, and you'll see some, watch right here, you'll see information right here also. You get that whip tool, you can take it wherever you want to go. But when it highlights there, it gives you some options. But if you let go of that, watch what happens in this box when I whip that, boom, now that changes, right? So that's another way you can do this thing as well. You can use the whip command, boom, and it does the same thing. So those are interchangeable. And that'll happen more so once you have multiple layers and you're trying to have stuff flying around and things of that nature. Now let's get back to PTS. Remember, PTS stands for, let's put it up here just so we can kind of, just to really drive it home. Position, actually, yeah, position, spell it right. Position, let's do 3 different layers. Position, Command D, position, and then opacity, and scale. And if you want to know how you're able to spell it right, if you're wondering, not that you are, but if you were wondering, I'm looking at it here. That's how I know. Whatever you put up there in the text form will appear here. And so let's move this down in position right there. And let's move scale down in position as well. Now let's make this about 225, not 2000, 225. Same with opacity, 225. Same with position. It's already 225. We're just gonna, well, let's go back to position. 225, boom. Now let's work our way with this. The position, let's go up a little bit, and there we have it. It's the most important thing to know. Position, opacity, scale. We'll get to rotation later, but for right now, position, opacity, and scale. Here's another way you can do this also. Say you want to move all of it together. Shift and select. Say you don't want to select this one, not a problem. Command, same way, right? You just want to do the first and second layer, not the third. Say you unselect all of it, you want to just select all of it and move it. And say you want to change the position of the whole thing, you can do that. Because they're all selected, whatever you do to any one of them will affect, based on their own position in space, in their own space and time, it will change. It's the beauty of it. So Let's come out of this. Let's go to position first. Let's bring this up. And you can change this in any type of order. Position, scale, opacity, PTS. Okay. Let's work with position. We'll do opacity for that. And we'll do scale for that. Just to drive it home. So we're gonna take this out of here. So let's do, you can do it like this. I see people do that all the time. Or you can just drag it out like that. The only thing you lose really is the positioning. Now I'm holding down shift. If I didn't hold shift, I could freely move it wherever. But once I hold shift, watch it. See how it locks right into place. Once you hold shift, it'll give you like this imaginary line. You can break the line, but it's just good to kind of keep it in there. Okay, there you go. That's off to the side. And we'll do the stopwatch there, and let's see, let's do something quick. 3 seconds, we're going to bring that over to here. Let's make it right there. And you see it keyframes. Once you have this established, the stopwatch, it'll do it accordingly. Let's go to opacity. We're gonna lock this just to make sure we won't mess with that. Let's go to opacity. We're gonna make that 100. So we're gonna click that. We're going reverse as far as opacity is concerned. You can do it whatever way you want to, but for me, I like to set the opacity where it's going to end up at. So I start at the end and then I end up at the beginning. And then I move the playhead over, bring that down to 0, boom, right? Let's lock that up. And now let's go to scale. And we're going to let's start small. Small, and let's go 15. And then let's end up, and say you can't get it directly on there. You're trying to make sure, how do you make sure that all of the keyframes are matching? You hold shift and watch it. It just locks in. Boop, boop. That's how you do that. And if you don't hit shift, you're trying to, that's when you get into the game of like, how approximate do you really want it? If you just hold shift, you're locked in. And let's make this end up 100. Boom. So, you know what you see what happened? You see what I didn't do, right? Gotta click that stopwatch. So we're gonna take that back down to 15. And then we're gonna bring that, hold shift to make sure we got it right, up to 100. And now, if we hit space, let's come off of this real quick. Boom. Position, opacity, and scale. This little thing right here, call it what you want to. Yeah, it's not stuff crazy and flying across the screen, but it is part of how to build an animation. This is the fundamentals of building animations. But I just wanted to show you, just wanted to emphasize the importance of position, opacity, and scale. Okay, so another thing we can also do, want to give you this nugget real quick before we get out of here, is you can hit U. I'm selected on the actual layer of layer 3. You can see scales highlighted. If I hit U, then you get that. If you hit U twice, then you get more information, right? So you can do a bunch of stuff with this. And the more layers, the more effects that you add on, where's my little effect situation? The more effects that you add on once that comes up, it'll show everything. Sometimes you'll have like a laundry list of stuff. So come back over here, because this has to be highlighted. See that blue box? See, when I was over here, this blue box was highlighted. If you're trying to do something, you can't figure out why it's not moving, make sure you click back into the timeline area. U once, U twice. And it goes the same way if you highlight everything, you once, you twice, right? So we clean up the timeline a little bit. Say you want to differentiate the colors. You want to assign some different colors to each text. You can do that, to each layer. You can do that as well, just so you can kind of see it while you're navigating, because sometimes you'll work with 20, 30, 50, 60. The most I've ever worked with was around 70 different layers. So this is essentially position, opacity, and scale, but we will call it PTS. This is really important. Like I said, I kind of wanted to drive it home with a little bit of animation in this tutorial. I'm not going to make this long. Like I said, I'm going to give you a lot of brief tutorials because After Effects is a really dense program, really complex program. And we're just like literally skating on things. We just barely putting our toe in the water. Like we haven't even got in the pool yet. Now that we just checking the temperature, this program is literally one of my favorite programs. I'm AB with Alexander Belize, and I'll see you on the next video. Take it easy.